Are you waiting for a decision from USCIS about your case? If you are, I'm sure you're very nervous about it. You know, they rarely come out and tell you this is going to get approved. They also don't tell you expect a denial within the next 2 weeks. So it's understandable that you're going to be nervous. So let's say you get this decision and you have been denied. Your adjustment of status was denied. So now what do? Right? Most people are going to go up online and look up, what do you do after denial from immigration? And you're going to come up with a couple of different legal phrases. A motion to reopen, a motion to reconsider, or an appeal. I know these things sound kind of similar, but they're very different and they're used in different ways. So I assume that your lawyer is going to call you into the office and sit down and discuss this. So it's good to have a little heads up to realize what the heck he or she is going to be saying to you. And I also know that it's easy to just say, well, let the lawyer make the decision. I don't know. The lawyer's supposed to know. I don't know what we should do. But you need to try and be a partner with your lawyer, and you need to understand what he or she is doing. I know you spend a lot of money and you figure, well, I'm just going to let them do it because I spent a lot of money. But because you've spent a lot of money, that's even more reason for you to understand what he or she is saying. And listen, at that meeting that you're going to have with him or her, under no circumstances should you walk out of that meeting without understanding what's going on. Okay? So this is a good place to start. What's a motion to reopen? They're three very different things. But what's a motion to reopen? When would you file that? A motion to reopen is used when you have new facts. Let's say one of the reasons you got denied was because you didn't have specific documents that they wanted. Maybe for some reason you didn't present your original birth certificate. Or let's say your adult child has petitioned for you and you had your birth certificate but you didn't have his and you never presented it to them. Well, now after a few weeks you were able to get that document and you have the new document that you need. That's when you would do a motion to reopen. How about a motion to reconsider? Well, a motion to reconsider isn't because there are new facts that have come in or new documents. It's because you think whoever the adjudicator was got the law wrong. You want USCIS to reconsider this case. And this is where an attorney comes in very handy. And by the way, for all you people that keep saying you can do it yourself, you're going to end up spending a lot more money on trying to file a motion to reopen or reconsider or an appeal than you would have ever filed if you had just hired this attorney in the first place. So many of the mistakes that are caused are just caused by you don't understand the law. You think you understand the law. I mean, ChatGPT told you what the law was, so you think you understand it, but you got it wrong. And now you're going to have to pay a lawyer to fix things. In fact, I just watched Brad Bernstein do a short about this, about so much of his work that he's doing now is coming in from people that had done the case by themselves or with some notario who are now calling themselves, they're not calling themselves notarios anymore, they're calling themselves paralegals. And guess what? Unless you have a law license that permits you to give legal advice, that person that you're talking to who says she's a paralegal with all these years of experience, that person has no right to give legal advice to you. And that's practicing law without a license. In Pennsylvania, they've actually gone after some of those people. So be careful. You know, I see it all the time up on Facebook. It drives me crazy. And they say, oh, you know, I can help you out. My prices are so much better than a lawyer's price. Yeah, of course, because you're not a lawyer. You're not a lawyer, number one. And number two, you're not allowed to be doing what you're doing. But, okay, I see. I always go off on a tangent whenever I start talking about notarios. Now, another example of one of the reasons you would use a motion to reopen. Let's say you're in court, right? And you filed for cancellation of removal. And you have a U.S. citizen child. And at the time that you were, you know, preparing for this case, the child was, you know, medically was fine. But between then and now, that child has developed some kind of a serious medical condition. Well, at that point, you want to file a motion to reopen because you want to present new facts to the court and say that, you know, these facts weren't available before, but they should impact the outcome of this case now. So you would file a motion to reopen with the judge. So you file a motion to reopen when there's new facts, but not just new facts. They have to be new facts that are material, new facts that are important. Maybe there's been some horrible thing that's happened in your country. Maybe it's had, you know, a catastrophic earthquake, or maybe there's been a coup d'etat or something, and you know, people are getting shot on the street. So that's when you would file a motion to reopen, when there's new facts. So some of the common reasons to file a motion to reopen, as I've mentioned, there's been a change in the country conditions. Maybe there's some new witnesses that are available that weren't available before. You know, another reason can be that prior counsel, meaning your old attorney, was ineffective. And I'm going to do a totally different video on that, ineffective assistance of counsel. I'm going to do a whole different video on that because, you know, from what I'm seeing in the groups that I'm in, there's a lot of dumbass attorneys out there. I don't know, but there's a lot of people making stupid mistakes. I don't know if this is because Trump has thrown a wrench into everything and nobody knows who's on first anymore. Could be, but you know, it could also be, you know, I know when I was practicing in Philly, just about every attorney who spoke Spanish would say they do immigration law. They didn't know diddly squat about immigration law, but they knew the language, so they would just solicit Spanish speakers for their immigration practice when they really didn't know what they were doing. I mean, I could tick them off, the number of attorneys that I knew that really didn't know very much about immigration law, even though they knew the foreign language. And that's not just about Spanish speakers, that could be Russian speakers, that could be Chinese people, that there's all kinds of folks that simply because they know the language, they think, okay, well, I'll do immigration law. Even though they never become members of ALA and they never really study immigration law. They just figure they'll learn it as they go. That's why it's called a practice, right? It's a legal practice because we have to practice first. Listen, you don't want those attorneys, okay? If for your case, have it be if you're starting from day one or you've already had your immigration interview and everything's gone to shit and you need somebody to fix this, no matter where you are in the legal process, you want the best attorney that you can afford. And One more thing I'm going to say about that is that the most expensive attorneys, you always think that the more expensive the attorney, the better the attorney. Sometimes that's true, but that's not always true. So I have an old video that I put up like a year ago about who can help you with your immigration work legally. Not the notarios, by the way. But just because they charge more than everybody else doesn't mean that they're the best attorneys in the area. So you should check out, number one, you want to make sure that they're a member of ALA, and number two, you want to be able to talk to other people and say, I really need a good attorney that does deportation work, or I want a good attorney that does VAWA work, or a good attorney that does asylum work, and zero in on those particular attorneys and see what you can do. And appeal work is something a lot of times immigration attorneys don't do appeal work. They'll give it to somebody else that focuses on just appeal work. So I know you have to be conscientious about how much things cost, but just because they charge more doesn't mean they're the best. Just because when you Google best immigration attorney in city X, and this is the first site that comes up, you say, oh, well, this is the best one. It might not be. It might not be. It might be somebody who pays someone to make sure that they're at the top of the Google list. So my humble opinion is that, number one, make sure they're an ALA member, which is American Immigration Lawyers Association. Make sure you check with them and that they're a member of ALA, because if they're not a member of ALA, I know it's expensive, I get it, and I know that you can get information from other areas, but they don't think that ALA is necessary, then you don't want them as an attorney, okay? I had a dear friend of mine, he's still a dear friend of mine, he doesn't watch my videos, so I could talk about him. He used to say to me all the time, Bev, you're a Spanish speaker, you should be doing anything and everything that Spanish speakers need. That means divorce work, criminal work, landlord, tenant, you should be doing everything for the Spanish speakers. And I thought to myself, that means I'm not doing anything well. I just wanted to be a good immigration attorney, whether I speak your language or I don't. I speak Spanish, I speak Portuguese, I'm trying to learn Italian. I don't know why, it's just fun. But anyway, I wanted to be a good immigration attorney. You're going to find people that speak your language, but they do the whole, as we say here in Philly, the whole mishpucha. They do family law, they do traffic court, they do landlord, they do everything. You don't want that person. My ever so humble opinion, actually he or she might be a fantastic immigration attorney, but unless they're really, really focused on immigration, I would skip them and go on to somebody else. So now, what about a motion to reconsider? A motion to reconsider is a totally different animal, okay? That's where you think that the adjudicator has made a decision. They've decided the case incorrectly. A motion to reopen focuses on facts. A motion to reconsider focuses on the law. So let's say that USCIS has decided the law incorrectly, in your opinion, or in your lawyer's opinion. That's when you do a motion to reconsider. Let me see if I can give you a couple of examples. Let's say an immigration judge totally disregards, I was going to say a new case. It doesn't even have to be a new case. Let's say they just completely disregard a case that came out from the BIA. That's the Board of Immigration Appeals. And immigration judges are supposed to follow the precedent that the BIA has created. Well, let's say this judge, maybe he's been on the bench for a long time, and this case came out a year ago, and yeah, he knows he's supposed to be following it, but he disagrees with it, so he doesn't follow it. That's when you would do a motion to reconsider, that you think that the IJ, the immigration judge, has decided the decision incorrectly on the law. So in this situation, you're not talking about new facts. You're not talking about country conditions have changed. There's no new witnesses. This is simply, you're talking regulations, you're talking statutes. This is where you need to have a good attorney, because, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys are very sophisticated, but if you're at this level, you need to have an attorney and expect to pay for it. So it's kind of like if you were thinking, about this, let's say you have a math exam, right? And the teacher marks a particular question wrong. For some reason, the teacher has added up these numbers incorrectly, right? Well, you're not going to present new numbers. The numbers haven't changed. You just ask them to reconsider this. It looks like you thought about this incorrectly, that you didn't add these numbers right. That's when you do a motion to reconsider. So some of the common reasons to file a motion to reopen, as I've mentioned, there's been a change in the country conditions. Maybe there's some new witnesses that are available that weren't available before. A motion to reconsider is a totally different animal, okay? That's where you think that the adjudicator has made a decision. They've decided the case incorrectly. A motion to reopen focuses on facts. A motion to reconsider focuses on the law. So let's say that they've decided, so let's say that USCIS has decided the law incorrectly, in your opinion, or in your lawyer's opinion. So let's discuss appeals now, right? Now appeals, that sounds much more official, right? I want to appeal this decision. I don't know what you're talking about, a motion to reopen, motion to reconsider. I want an appeal. Well, what does that mean, that you're going to appeal this? It basically means that you want a higher authority to make the decision. And when it comes to USCIS, normally any case that's going to be appealed is going to be appealed to the Administrative Appeals Office. It depends on the type of the case, however. But, however, if you're in court, and you're in immigration court and the IJ rules against you, now you're going to appeal your case to the Board of Immigration Appeals. And I can tell you right now that it's been like this probably for as long as I've been an attorney, that the BIA normally reaffirms whatever the IJ said. And the reason for that is that the immigration judge is considered the finder of facts, right? They're the person who has sat through this hearing. They have listened to all of the witnesses, and they've decided whether or not they believe this witness, they don't believe that witness. And the BIA seems to take the position that the IJ was in, when I say IJ, I mean immigration judge, the IJ was in the best position to decide this case. And so normally, not always, but normally they agree with whatever the IJ said. So let's talk a little bit about what kind of issues can be raised on appeal. One are legal errors, where the immigration judge just got the law wrong. Two are factual errors. I mean, I've sat in on more than one decision where the IJ is explaining why he decided this case the way he did, and he misstates the facts of the case. That's a very good grounds for appeal. because the IJ apparently was confused about the facts of the case. And there might be some procedural mistakes, that things weren't filed in the right way or at the right time. The exact scope depends on the particular appeal that you're doing. So just real quick, just to review it, if you're going to do a motion to reopen, why would you do a motion to reopen? Because you have new facts. Why would you do a motion to reconsider? Because you think the adjudicator, have it be the immigration judge or USCIS itself, has decided the legal issues incorrectly. Maybe the law was misapplied. And so with immigration law, sometimes different motions are accepted. You might be able to do a motion to reopen and an appeal at the same time. However, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that deadlines are really, really important. You can't blow a deadline. And I know if you have followed me at all, if you have watched any of my videos, you know that I'm going to tell you to get an attorney for this stuff, because things that don't seem that important to you are going to be extremely important to attorneys. I don't know how many times where I've had clients where I've told them, look, I need to get this filed by such and such a date, and that means I need this information that you're going to give me by Friday. I have to have it by Friday because it has to be in by Tuesday. You have to, and the hearing is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they come into court on Wednesday and they have all the stuff that I wanted on Friday. It's like, well, it's freaking too late, buddy. I told you I needed this by Thursday so I could get this out by Monday so that it's here by Wednesday, so that by Thursday everybody has what they need. And you come walking into the courtroom with this stuff? What? This is not fucking playtime. We're not in kindergarten. Things have to be prepared. They have to be prepared in a certain way. There needs to be an index. You have to work hand in glove with your attorney. And if your attorney says, I need this by Friday, get it to them by Thursday. Okay? Because if there's a screw up, like, oh, well, you had 2 different copies of the birth certificate, or maybe the birth certificate, or maybe the birth certificate needs to be translated, whatever, get it to them before they have to have it. Get it to them before they have to have it. Cooperate with your attorney, because if not, I don't give a shit how much money you spent on this attorney. If you don't get that attorney the paperwork that person needs, you're only screwing yourself. Attorneys can't work miracles. So make sure that you work hand in glove with your attorney. Get things to them get documents and whatever they need to them in a timely fashion. A little bit ahead of the deadline would be great. And the deadlines vary according to what it is. Obviously, a motion to reopen and a motion to reconsider, they have different deadlines than an appeal to the BIA. Make sure you have this stuff straight. And this is another thing. Remember earlier I said don't walk out of that meeting with your attorney without understanding what's going on. Make sure you have a clear understanding of what has to be done next and when it has to be done. When do you need to reply to your attorney about X? Okay, so lastly, we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes that people make. Well, it's not even on the list, but I'm going to say it again for the umpteenth time. The biggest mistake is that you're not using an attorney. You're using a paralegal. I have lots of years of experience with this. Listen, you need an attorney. This is not a DIY moment, okay? You need an attorney if you're going to appeal this this decision, if you're going to do a motion to reopen or a motion to reconsider, you need an honest to God attorney for this case. You can't just put into the motion to reopen or the motion to reconsider that the judge got this wrong or the adjudicator got this wrong. You need to be specific about what it is that's happening. And the reason that I raise this for you guys is that, listen, before anything gets sent, and again, this depends on how timely you are. If you've gotten this stuff ahead of time and you've given your attorney enough time to figure this stuff out, in my opinion, it's a best practice to have them send you a copy of what they're going to file, so that, look, 2 sets of eyes are better than 1. 4 sets of eyes are better than 2. Okay? So you see if your attorney will send you a copy of this stuff so that you can double check stuff. Sometimes, now I've had my fair share of clients that, complain that, well, there should have been a comma here, and you did a period here when it should have been a comma. I've had those clients too, which, can drive attorneys crazy. But sometimes clients will pick up on stuff that the attorney forgot about. Didn't you say that you were going to mention XYZ? Oh, shit. Yeah, I was going to mention XYZ. I never did. It helps to have another person who is vested in this decision to look over what it is that's going to be filed before it gets filed. After it's filed, more problematic. Okay? It's hard to fix stuff once it's already been filed. And so basically, that's it. Please, please, please work with your attorney. Get things to the attorney. If he says he wants it there by Friday, get it to him on Wednesday. It's just so much easier. It will make things go better. The more cooperative you are, the better the case, the stronger the case. And I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking around to the end of this. Please hit subscribe. I think I have like 148 subscribers. I'm trying to get up to that 500 mark, but at 148, I'd be happy with 200. So if you like this, if you want more videos regarding the things that most attorneys don't explain, that's what I like to do. I like to have videos about, what is a notice to appear. They all talk about the NTA, they never tell you what the hell it is. Right? Same thing about, well, what's a habeas versus a mandamus? What's a motion to reconsider versus a motion to reopen? So that's the type of stuff that I'm trying to do. I'm not looking for your work as a client. I'll be more than happy to do consultations if you want a second consultation, maybe a second opinion on something. I'll be more than happy to do that, but I'm really not looking for any additional work, as I've officially retired. I don't have an office anymore. As you can tell, I'm trying to get the heck out of this room. I need to get back downstairs to my library, but sooner or later you're going to see me downstairs instead of up here. I hate it up here. But anyway, thank you so much for listening, for watching. Hit like. If you can share this with one of your groups, maybe you're in Reddit, maybe you're in... I had somebody share something on WhatsApp, which I don't even have, but they shared a video I did a year ago on WhatsApp. That's still my #1 video, based on, whether or not, based on how to file for your sibling. So if you want to share it with other people, share it in your groups, please feel free. And if you like it, hit like. It does help the algorithm. It sends this video out to more people if you hit like, if you comment, if you share it. So I appreciate you hanging around, and if there's something that you would like me to talk about, maybe there's an expression that you've heard an attorney say, and even though he explained it, you still didn't get it, put it in the comments. Put it in the comments if there's something that you would like me to talk about, some kind of legal expression. Please let me know, because I'll be more than happy to share it with you. And that's it for right now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.